Good afternoon, everyone. It's a privilege to be addressing such an august gathering of CIOs, data professionals from all across India. And my name is Rahul Sharma. I look at the business of Snowflake for North and East India. Before I start the presentation, just a quick show of hands. How many of you would have heard of Snowflake in any shape or form? Excellent. Some of us, right. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I'll set a context to it. We are new in India. We entered about a year and a half ago, and we have made great progress. Globally, we are the fastest growing data platform in the world. And a little bit of anecdotal context. So most of us, like professionals, we end up working throughout the week, and most of the household chores are something that we reserve for the weekends. This weekend was a bit tough for me because all of a sudden, all of the members of the family had one demand or the other, which I had to fulfill. My mother wanted some medicines immediately, and they were not available at the local chemist shop, so she asked for some amount of my time. My wife had been asking me to sell her car on an online portal, and I had not done it, so she told me that there's no food on the table if it doesn't get done on this weekend. And with the decade of being married, you realize that some of these threats are real, so you have to act accordingly. To top it up, my fridge in the house broke down, and eventually I ended up ordering the medicines on 1mg as an app. I went to Cars24 and ended up selling my wife's car. I came back and booked an appointment with Urban Company. The guy came in and he fixed the refrigerator. And after that, we ended up ordering some food, some pizzas from Pizza Hut, some Pepsi bottles, and something from Swiggy. And in the evening, while I was taking rest and I was realizing how eventful the weekend had been, I realized that all of these companies that we use daily in our lives, they are all using the Snowflake data cloud for working, and that is the data cloud that essentially powers their analytics, their data sharing, and everything. So we are closer to you than you actually think we are, and with an increase in the enterprise space, people looking more and more on data and the workloads that they can run on it, it's a matter of time before we become even more of a household name for all. The question that we get asked very often is that why is it that Snowflake is the fastest growing data cloud in the globe? Why is it that 8 out of Fortune 10 companies globally use us? Why is it that 250 out of Fortune 500 and almost 25% of the top 2,000 companies use us globally? The answer lies in the fact that if you'd be a data enthusiast or a CIO with a partial interest in data, you would realize that data has exploded globally from 2 zettabytes, which is 2 billion petabytes of data in 2010. In 2020, it reached a figure of 64 zettabytes. It's supposed to even triple by 2025, so it will be almost 180 zettabytes. What this means is that, with the likes of IoT coming in, 5G networks coming in, everything is happening on mobile apps. There is this huge opportunity for organizations to harness that data in terms of making use of it, sharing it, drawing analytics, doing an AI/ML workload. But most of the people have not been able to do this well. The reason is that data remains to be in silos. People have tried to counter this by using something of some people end up using application platforms, which could be the likes of Salesforce or Workday, or for that matter, SAP. Now, the challenge that remains is that while the application platforms unify the upper layer, there are still various databases in the backend which will not talk to, say, the CRM or data which is required for marketing. So it still remains in silos. A lot of people try to solve this problem by using infrastructure clouds, which are a mix of the 3 top hyperscalers we talk about. But as one of the challenges that remains over there is scalability. One of the challenges that remains is a cross-cloud talking of data, sharing of data. And another challenge, which Mr. Vinod also rightly pointed out, is you don't have a sense of how much are you spending. It's not a consumption-based model. It's a SaaS-based subscription model, which means that you end up reserving some instances, and if you don't use it, you still end up paying for them. Enter Snowflake, which is essentially what we call as the data cloud. So we do this for our bread and butter. We are not an application cloud. We are not an infrastructure cloud. We are purely a data cloud. And as I mentioned, various sources of data you can see on the screen. It could be the supplier data, it could be web data, it could be IoT data. All these data sources are lying in an organization waiting for the data to be extracted and made use of. That's where Snowflake comes in. We are a data cloud. We call ourselves, we are the only data cloud as the industry knows of us as. And what we provide to the organizations is a platform which can house all of your data, which is to say it can house the data which is structured data, which is coming from the applications. It can even house semi-structured data, which comes from web and mobile apps. It can even store unstructured data, which is the likes of images and video files and call recordings. And we are a platform which gives you unlimited elasticity, scale, speed and concurrence for you to be able to democratize this data across your ecosystem. Now, the ecosystem could actually be with respect to within your organization or also outside of it, which means the customers, the suppliers, the vendors, the third-party people with whom you have to share the data. The USP is that it's absolutely scalable. It provides you with access governance and a very tight security layer. And above all, we don't create copies of data, which is a huge architectural difference from the way the things have been done till now. So essentially, in today's world, even when organizations are making use of their data, they are creating those multiple copies, some of which might go to the AI ML team, some of which could go to the analytics team, some of which could go to the marketing team. With Snowflake, architecturally, all the live data is available to each and everyone across the ecosystem at the flash of a button. You just query the data as it is without creating a copy. And that syncs beautifully with our mission. And the mission is to move the world's data, to democratize the world's data. The three benefits that we bring to the table are access, governance, and action. And when we talk about access, as I said, all the organization data can reside on Snowflake as a data cloud. You can also add the ecosystem data, which could be the data of your suppliers, your vendors, and we are driving so many use cases in manufacturing where the end suppliers are the ones which are providing the data to the main equipment manufacturer so that they can know as to what is the kind of production schedule that they will run into. The use cases are endless. And even third-party data. So a lot of times companies in CPG, retail, healthcare, they would like to access third-party data and be able to combine it with their data. And Snowflake as a platform provides you a great access to do it. The governance, as some of us mentioned in some of the panel discussion, is one of the key criteria that the CIOs look at. We are very tight on governance, whether it be a role-based access control, tokenization, encryption, or bring your own key. Anything is possible on Snowflake. So it's a very tightly governed model where only the people who are supposed to access their part of the data on the data cloud end up accessing it. And finally, the action part, right? Essentially, why do we need all this data? We need to have people running AI/ML workloads. We need to have business getting real-time analytics. We need to have customer 360 running on the data in real time. So we remove all delay, and it's a platform which gives you highest level of concurrency, absolute elasticity, and it's a consumption-based model, which is a huge difference from the subscription model. In our model, you only pay for the number of seconds that you use the platform. We don't ask you to reserve any instance. So for all your data could be lying on Snowflake, and if you're not querying it for 1 year, we don't charge you anything on the compute cost. A number of, just 1 second. A number of customers, some of them are known to us. Emirates would be known, KFC would be known, Pizza Hut, and as I said, 500 of the Fortune 2000 companies currently end up using the Snowflake Data Cloud. Now, this is a beautiful depiction of how the data cloud looks like. All the dots that you see are various customers or data providers which are putting their data onto Snowflake and democratizing it by sharing it across the entire ecosystem. Think of it as a Facebook of data for one to think about it. All the data sets, a lot of third-party data sets and everything is available, and it's all getting democratized. At the times of COVID, US government put the COVID data on Snowflake, and that was being used by the healthcare providers to make better insights into where more primary and tertiary care is required. And the use cases on sharing of data are endless. We'll see more of them coming in the days to come. I talked about the access part already. Your data, your organization's data, your ecosystem data, and the Snowflake data marketplace, which houses the third-party data, everything is available natively to you at the click of a button. The architecture of Snowflake is interesting. It's very differentiated from the other providers. Why? Because we are multi-cloud, which means that even if your various applications are hosted on multiple of clouds, you can still use Snowflake as your one data platform. We are hosted on AWS and Azure in India. Globally, we are hosted on all the three hyperscalers. Our storage layer is common, which means that you don't create those data silos anymore. All the data gets ingested natively onto Snowflake, and on top of it, we put a multi-cluster compute, which means that all of your workloads end up getting different computes as and when they require. There is never a resource contention. Think of it as a scenario where you are using a laptop and you are playing a game and watching a movie and also doing online shopping, and compare that with a scenario where every of these activities ends up getting a separate laptop. So we separate the compute for every workload, which means that it's really scalable. In sub-seconds, you can get the performance that you need, and remember, you only pay for what you use. Skip this slide. People ask us, what is there inside the hood? So, as I said, we are able to ingest all the data sources which you see on the left. It could be OLTP data, it could be your enterprise applications, weblog data, IoT data, everything gets ingested in Snowflake. What we provide is an elastic performance engine which is ready to scale up, scale down in a matter of seconds, and you don't have to reserve any instance. And we provide the intelligent infrastructure, which is something of a plus against what the other hyperscalers provide. You are not wanting to manage anything with respect to vacuuming of database, partitioning of database, or do any of the management activities. Even the security is something that is taken care of by Snowflake. And on top, you can run all the main workloads, which include data engineering, data lake, data warehouse, data science, and data applications. So the sky is the limit. And all the consumers in your organization, whether they're looking at monetizing the data that you have, or they're running operational reporting or doing ad hoc analytics, they end up getting access to that live data in real time. There is no delay. It is all very secure under a tight role-based access control. And as I mentioned again and again, it's a true consumption-based model. Whatever you don't use, you carry forward to the next year. Finally, we are a technology choice because we are a single platform for all types of data. We allow multi-cluster compute to eliminate resource contention. It's a near zero maintenance model, which means that you don't have to spend on the manpower or the time to manage your entire data platform. True consumption model and industry first. As I said, you are billed only for the time that you use it. There's no reserve instance at all. We are multi-cloud, and we are also cross-cloud, which means that we can also do handshakes with the other cloud providers which are there outside of the hyperscaler that you're using. And it's a unique architecture, which means it doesn't have any data copies. And you looking at one copy of data which goes across all the data workloads. As a business choice, I mentioned it in my opening remarks, it's a software company with the largest IPO ever in the history of the globe for a software company in 2020. A few months back, we had 100 billion US. A true consumption-based model. 50% of the companies of Fortune 500 remain as our clients, and a very, which means that people who end up using Snowflake, they end up expanding on the workload. We don't have a negative churn, and the growth has been tremendous. As you see, in April 2020, there were a few edge locations. Now more and more customers are sharing the data all across the ecosystem. And we have the likes of the largest as well as boutique partners to partner with you. The big four, the Accentures, the Deloittes of the world, they're all our partners, and so are some boutique companies. And we can come across and speak with you with respect to your data needs and take things ahead. And with this, I'll like to draw close to the presentation. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.